All right. This thing is starting. Hello, everybody. I'm going to give it a couple of minutes per usual to let people come on in. I am going to move my screen around so I have everything set up on my end. Welcome in, folks. Welcome back to those who have been attending these recently. As we give it a minute or two for folks to join, go ahead and drop in the chat your name, your organization, and then a yes if you attended the last series, or a no if you did not. And it's okay if you even just attended one. That's totally fine. Um, Hi, Katie. Welcome back. Hi, Corey. Welcome for the first time. All right. All right. Cool. A lot of first timers. I like it. Yes, I definitely thanks, Sophia. Sophia's like, I came to something. It wasn't very memorable, but I saw your face before. I love it. All right, cool. Wow, chat is just on fire right now. All right, so if you were with us for the last series, then you're relatively familiar with the fact that we went over really like filling the funnel, right? So we're talking about membership, we're recruitment, onboarding, renewals, and win backs. This series, that one, it went well having a topic to focus on, and then diving into specific use cases for said topic. So we decided why not do it again? And we got good feedback from people. So uh, it's okay, Sophia. I was just making a joke. There, I also agree with you. There are 1,000 things happening on any given day. I don't even remember what I had for breakfast today, but that's just my problem, I guess. Um, but yes, so last series we talked about the core membership topics, and this series is about something a little bit different, but still relevant. And it's really about the 11 months that are in between, right? So ways that you can become a part of your members day to day so that between the join or the renewal and the next renewal, um, you can really say that your members felt engaged. So, to kick the series off, we are talking about data. And if you're wondering why are we starting with data when I thought that this was about engagement? The answer is relatively simple. So, data is really the foundation to the rest of the story. It is what helps you make membership meaningful for each member when you have the right data. And it's going to make engagement significantly easier if you have data on members that are relevant to them so that you can, again, feed the pipeline, show them what they're looking for, et cetera, et cetera. Part of it is also like so you can actually talk with them too. All right. So, as per usual, we are starting off with some introductions. For those of you who don't already know me, my name is Brittany. I am the Senior Marketing Manager here at PropFuel. If you're wondering how I got here, how I'm speaking to you on all these topics, being on the vendor side of things, I spent a decade in associations in membership and marketing roles prior to joining the PropFuel team. So the things that I do in these webinars are really from experience. And at the same time, I think from the vendor side of things, we have this really unique opportunity to stay connected to the space and really learn a lot from the clients and what our clients are doing. And so I almost feel like I'm learning more in this role because I get to see a broad spectrum of use cases and scenarios because we've got a broad spectrum of clients. Um, I'm trying something new for this engagement question. So, uh, our hope is year after year, more and more people know who we are, right? That is any business's goal. And thankfully, year after year, we have heard that more and more people state that they've at least heard of us. They've heard of us through the grapevine or seen us in an email, whatever it may be. So, before I dive in and tell you all what we do, in true PropFuel fashion, I wanted to start with a question. And whether you know us or not, I would love to know in one or two word, well, up to five words, maybe. I don't know. I would love to hear from you all. What is PropFuel? And on the screen, it says no wrong answers. That's actually not entirely true. There are definitely going to be some wrong answers, but you won't be judged by them. And I promise that we will go into what we do next. Let's see. Let's see what people are saying. I'm also interested in hearing like if you have heard of PropFuel. All right, let's see. People are saying my source for dad jokes. Andy, I love it. You're gonna be so disappointed. I don't have a dad joke for you today. Well, I might have I have a knock knock joke that I use for somebody. Um, the best thing since sliced bread when it comes to finding out what your members need. Kelly, that might be our next tagline. I love it. We're gonna get rid of the fuel station and we're just putting bread everywhere. Um, tool to engage with members, targeted member communications, a membership platform, engagement-driven survey platform. I love this. You guys are great. Powerful member engagement platform. Woo! Look at this go. Platform to engage members in individualized ways. Wow. Okay. So it sounds like a lot of you know who we are and what we do. I'm still going to give you the spiel, but if you have never heard of us, can you, I won't judge anyone. Can you put in the chat? No, just like never heard of you? Because that's going to give me, again, some context as to how deep into the who is PropFuel part. If you haven't heard of us, just say haven't heard of you. As we do that, to sum it up, you guys did great. PropFuel is a member insights and engagement platform, and it's built specifically for associations, professional trade, what have you. So our whole thing is about making membership meaningful, right? So we give you the tools or the technology to help you actually understand what your members want and then do something about it without needing this huge team to pull it all off. And we do this using the Ask, Capture, Act methodology, which if you are already familiar with us, you probably already know this methodology. We'll keep it short, sweet, and to the point. You ask a question, you capture that data and that insight from the members, and then you act on that. You provide relevant information, relevant experiences to your members based off of the information that they gave you from that original question. Now, even if you've heard of us, something that might be new for you all is we just recently released some very, very cool stuff to help with membership in general, and to really expand the platform and everything that it has to offer. So this is a bit new. I'm going to dive into this first because I think that this is super important. And again, my membership background just geeks out over this because it's everything I wish I had when I was in my membership role. Um, if you have heard of Membership AI, if you've heard of that, say yes. If you have not, say no. That's going to give me, again, more context as to like how deep I should go into this. Um, oh my gosh, oh no, so many people haven't heard of this. Um, Sophia, what did you have for breakfast today? Let's start there. No, I'm just kidding. I can't give you a hard time because like my memory is just shot with everything that's going on. But okay, I'm going to take 90 seconds, maybe 120. Don't actually time me on this to talk about what we've built. And I really, really, really want to start with the problem because it's probably your problem too. Uh, a membership team is typically small. I personally have been on a membership team of three. I've been on a membership and marketing team of one. So yes, that means that I was the membership and the marketing team. I've been on a team of six or seven. But no matter the size, the team is always doing a work of an entire department, right? You are collecting the data, you are reading the data, you are building audiences based on the data or based on no data at all. You're writing email copy, you're writing social media copy, you're remembering every goal the board handed you. You are running the campaigns, you're analyzing the campaigns. And then on Monday morning, you're sitting down and you're trying to figure out where to even start with all this, right? And the part that stings a little bit is that like the problem isn't necessarily that you don't know what to do, it's that you don't have the capacity. So there are a couple of ways that this plays out, right? One way is you don't have the data, you don't have the insights, you don't have the people to help get the data to then get the insights to then do something with it. Or you have data, but you don't have the capacity to do anything with it, right? So that is, or those are the problems that membership AI is built to solve, right? So it is a set of tools that do specific jobs that eat your week. And the really cool thing about this is it was built by people who've been inside the association space for 20 plus years. So not only do these people who built this like have the background of association knowledge and the pains that you go through, like there were multiple interviews that happened prior to building out this product to make sure that it really aligned with the problem that association people were having, and that it's something that could actually solve said problems. Um, the easiest way to think about it is that it's essentially the team that you would hire if you had the budget, a data analyst, a membership coordinator, a campaign manager, and a few others. We'll get into it as we go. But overall, the point is that this is a single tool that helps give you the capacity to finally act on what your members have been telling you all along, which is the only way that membership truly becomes meaningful, right? That you're feeding information to members based off of what they're looking for. So if we're breaking it down real quick, there's essentially like three parts to it. So there's still obviously the general prop fuel email and the Ask Capture Act methodology. But we've got what are called signals. So this is when you've had the data, but what you haven't had is the time to really sit with it and then find the patterns within it. So signals watches the campaigns. It recognizes certain behaviors from your members. So someone who said that they would renew and hasn't, someone who went quiet after onboarding, and it surfaces these people automatically. So think of this as like your data analyst that never stops reading the data because it's just working in the background, which is amazing. Then you've got segments. So signals is telling you who's at risk. Now you're pulling that group together. So that used to mean lists, workflows, filter logic. Now we've got it set up so that you can kind of say in your plain language, this is what I'm looking for. So like members who joined in the last 90 days but haven't opened, um, et cetera, et cetera. So this is like membership coordinator who is really like speaking your language. And then the last piece of it is my favorite part. So now you have all this information and you're like, okay, I have to build a campaign, but who has time to build a campaign? I'll do it next week when I probably have more time and you likely have even less time. Uh, so now we've got this AI campaign builder. And instead of building the campaign from scratch, you describe the goal, and then the campaign builder will build the whole thing for you. So, like emails, timing, checking questions, branches, and then it has a draft. We're always going to recommend that a human reviews it before it goes out. Um, but yeah, that was longer than 90 seconds. Thank you for bearing with me. But for clients who want to see this, we are hosting a workshop on August 4th. Alejandra, if we have it, we're going to post the message or post the registration link in the chat. If we don't have it right away, just send me a note and I will get that to you if you want to attend. Again, it's going to be a workshop walking you through the whole thing. And then for non-clients, there is so much more to this and everything it has to offer. So message me separately if you want to set up a time to review that. I am going to put my email in the chat for anyone who wants to talk to me about anything at all. There you are. And I digress. Thank you for bearing with me. Getting back to today, high level overview of what we're focusing on. Why losing members might actually be a data problem. That's where we're going to start. And then I have this idea of the two rooms, and basically we'll get into it in a little bit. We're going to talk about what data to collect, what is important, and then we'll walk away with a couple of takeaways and then some opportunities. So as per usual, please, please, please send any questions in the chat as we go. I will try to address them as we go through all this. Diane, yes, no, it is not an additional charge for existing clients. Woohoo! All right, so a quick gut check before we get going. Think about your last big campaign. It likely went to a few thousand people. Now pick one of those people at random. I want you to like think about this as I'm going through this, right? So pick a random person, Joe Schmo from your email list or your mailing list. What do you actually know about that person? And start at the basic level, right? Do we know for sure that their email is current? Or does it bounce? Or does it go to an inbox that they never check anymore? Is the mailing address 3 moves out of date, or is that still accurate? Is the job title still correct? Have they ever told you how they want to hear from you? And then we get into the deeper stuff, right? We're still thinking about Joe Schmo. You're like, I know the email address is current. I haven't confirmed the mailing address. I have confirmed the job title. Not really sure their preferences, but then going a little bit deeper, what are they working toward this year? What do they actually care about? So for most of us, somewhere in this list, right, it falls apart and it falls apart relatively fast, especially if it's at that first level, right? If we can't reliably reach half of these people, then how can we even speak to them about what's relevant? How can we even get more data from them about what they really want out of a membership? This is really kind of like the mindset I want you to be in as we're talking through data today. The thing with data is there's so many levels to it, right? And we'll get into this in just a minute too, but there's like the demographical data, right? Where are you located? What's your email? How do we contact you? What's your gender? What's your birth date? Like what generation are you part of? And then there's also the data that surrounds who the member is, what they want, what they do. So that's kind of how we're going to look at things today. Uh, to really set the scene, I want to zone in on a specific problem, and that problem is losing members. Um, a lot of the times when you ask why a member left, the answer you hear most often is likely cost. It's too expensive. We don't have the funds this year. And that's a very real answer. You should take it seriously. I'm not saying you shouldn't, but I've said this before and I will say it again. Cost is always, it's almost always a value problem, right? It's this value issue in disguise. So when someone says it's too expensive, what they really mean is they didn't get enough value out of it to justify the price. Because there are some people on here that haven't attended one of my webinars before, I will explain this again. If something is $10, if I've never used it in my life, if it's entirely irrelevant to me, it's a fishing pole. It's $10. I'm like, that's a pretty expensive fishing pole because I'm never going to use it. Now, if it's a $10 ice cream, I love ice cream. That is the cheapest ice cream ever because I love it and it's going to make me happy. And I think that it's great. And realistically, $10 is kind of expensive for ice cream. But even I would be like, I'm going to pay for it. So again, a value gap can come from a lot of places. Um, but a big one, and the one that we can actually fix, is typically the data, right? So if you don't have the data to make the experience relevant, then you send everyone the same thing, and it's typically going to land flat for a majority of them. Or you've got the wrong data, so the member never gets the information that would have actually mattered to them. Either way, they don't feel the value. And a year later, that shows up as this is too expensive for me. So, yes, cost is real, but underneath it, it really can be a data problem. And again, that is one example of why what we're covering in this session is so important because we're trying to get data that's going to support growth. Okay. So, when it comes to stale data, how do we usually try and fix that? Uh, Oftentimes, not to spoil it, we often email everyone with the login and update your profile button, right? Hey, we want to make sure all your data is correct. Please log in and update your profile when you have a chance. And nothing comes back because nobody these days is really logging into a portal to update their profile. I'm not. You're probably not. You're probably seeing that your members aren't. And it's not that it's the profile page that's bad or the profile that's bad. It's this idea of that like self-service updating. It just doesn't work as well anymore. It's asking your members to log in. The first problem here is that you're assuming your members have their login information saved or they know it top of mind. And if they're anything like me, they've got a trillion logins, a couple of different emails, a couple of different passwords. I'll give it three attempts. And if I can't remember it, I'm typically like, I'll get back to this later. And let me tell you, later never comes because I'm on to something new. But you're asking them to log in and say they can log in, then they have to review a bunch of fields, navigate to the certain places where all of their data lies. And it puts the onus on the member. So what is working is making it easier for members, right? So how do we do this? we've got three moves. It kind of goes back to what I was talking about earlier. So the first is confirm. If you have a way to pull the data that you have, let's show the members, hey, this is what we have on file for you. Is this still right? And then if you can make it as simple as like yes, no, and then everything's good to go, that makes it 100 times easier than again guessing your login, navigating to the right area of your profile, making sure you have the right info. You get the picture. Um, the second move is again thinking about like one question. So how can we do this bit by bit rather than asking them to go in and update everything at a time? How can we make this more of an ongoing conversation than one mass update every year or every other year or every 5 years, whatever that looks like for you? I would be interested in knowing how often are you asking members to update their profile? If you could drop in the chat how often you are doing like profile updates for your members. Would love to know. Never. Oh no. Once a year, never once a year. Okay. When they log in, I like that, Teresa. If that's a really great idea. I don't talk about that one specifically, but I think we do have for Propio users, we do have website engagement. So when someone logs in, you can have a pop-up of like, hey, don't forget to review your information to make sure things are accurate. Um, all right. When we think to reach out about it and make any changes, love it, Christy. Same. Again, it's this idea that there's always so much going on. And then at the most random moment, you're like, oh, wait, we haven't done this in a while. We should probably make sure everything's set up and good to go. Or like yearly, right before renewals, that's ideal. But again, if you can make it kind of an ongoing conversation, um, the other part of it, I'm kind of getting off topic here in the sense of like where my spiel was going, but the other thing is like the importance of making your association and everything that you have to offer relevant to members means that like when things change, you're going to be top of mind for them. And I touch on this a little bit later, but like if a primary contact changes, if the association hasn't used or if the member hasn't used the membership, they're not going to think like this changed. I should update my profile here. When I moved most recently, I thought about all of the things that I like use, all the things that I like are typically top of mind for me, and I updated my address there. Did I think about all the associations I'm a part of? To be honest, no, because most of them like that wasn't top of mind for me. And this just actually reminded me I should check my contact info on those. Um, but the goal here is again the relevant information that you're sending them. They're paying attention to you, they're engaging with you long term. Ideally, that means you have to send fewer check-in emails on contact info because they're going to naturally think of you when they need to update any type of information. Anywho, um, okay. The engine that we're working off of is again making something simple. And ask a single question, capture the answer that comes in, act on what they told you. That is really the loop behind everything that we're doing. Um, and everything that we're going to talk about in the series, right? These year-round check-ins, the events, certifications, all of it. So everything else that we're covering today is just that one move pointed toward different movements, right? So keep that in your back pocket as we go. So I'd mentioned at the beginning, we're going to talk about two rooms. The main one we're talking about is your members. The secondary one is actually going to be prospects. As I was going through this, the priority is always going to be making sure that the current members that are actually paying you, actually active in your association, you have the right data on them. But there's a lot of value to capturing data on prospects as well. So that will be room two. We're going to touch on it very lightly, but we will get there. All right. So if you take a step back and you take a minute to open up your AMS and pull a real member record, some of it is probably fine, but I would be curious to know how much of it you actually have confirmed lately. It sounds like some of you have not ever confirmed, which is, we're going to fix that. Um, But it's really thinking like, okay, is the email still good or is it bouncing? Is the address still current? Job title. Or is this the job title from 3 rows ago? Do you still have their student information in there? What types of preferences have they told you about? Did they tell you that? Or did they pick it the day that they joined and we haven't revisited it since? Think about longer term members. My goals have changed significantly in the last, I mean, honestly, even in the last year. So if you think about longer term members who, when they originally joined during their onboarding series, they said this was their goal or this is what mattered to them. If you haven't checked in with them in the last couple of years, let alone last year, there is a very good chance that whatever they told you then is different from what they're focused on now. So that's why it's important to continue to check in with them, right? Um, and that's kind of the real trap. The longer someone's been a member, the more we assume we know them, and the less recently we have actually checked in with them. I think a lot of associations these days are doing a really good job of understanding onboarding and the importance of gathering information as we go. Uh, but then what happens when they renew for year 2 or 3 or 4? We don't always have the same onboarding or renewal engagement series after that. So how are we getting that data at all? If so, how? So right now, you might be thinking, okay, this is great, I get it, but where do I even start? Data encompasses so many things where do I even begin? This is a starting point. And some of this is, again, it's based off of experience, it's based off of things that I have worked through before. That's not to say this is 100% correct because I think it's going to vary by association, but there are so many things that you could collect that I want to make this actionable. I want to make it manageable. So I'm narrowing it down for you all by using these lists. Okay. The first thing you want to collect are the things in this far left field, right? And it's the basics. Can we even reach you? How do you want to hear from us? It is not glamorous. It is not always the most exciting thing, but nothing else works without this, right? So that comes first. Then there's the middle layer. Who are you? Do we know who you are? What is your role? Do we have the right specialty for you? Do we even have a specialty for you? Where are you at in your career? How long have you been a part of this field? Um, and then the far right is going to be kind of like what we would consider the fun stuff, right? This is how you can really, really, really make things relevant. And that's the reason anyone would really fill all of this in is that, like, what are you working towards? What certification are you eyeing? Um, what topics and events do you care about? Because that's what's going to help make the membership relevant. That's what's going to keep you top of mind for them, right? Uh, the trick here is that oftentimes we want all this information, so we try to collect it all at once. That can get really overwhelming. So again, rather than collecting it all at once, let's start with the right and then like kind of space out some of the information or ask different questions. You don't have to ask, um, what is your specific goal for the year? You can ask it in a different way. Like, hey, the new year is ahead. What are you focused on right now? Or what's a problem that you're trying to solve right now? And that can also give you an answer of this is what's important to that specific member. But again, it's all going to start over here with the basic stuff. Because once you can reliably reach someone, then every question after that should land. And it's on you to make it one that's relevant to them and to do something with it. Okay. So from there, again, you're starting with the layer that everything else sits on. I kind of went over this already, so I won't dwell on it for too long. But how do you actually reach this person? Do you know how they want to hear from you? Do you have the right email? Do you have their current address? Do they want email? Do they want a text? How often? About what? What information are they looking for? Have they updated their email preferences in a while? Um, but again, if the email bounces, it really doesn't matter how well you know their goals because the message is not getting to them anyways. If you're emailing someone 5 times a week, who wanted one text a month, then you're not engaging them. You're training them to tune you out. And this layer is really the foundation. So if you get it wrong, everything on top of it can be a little bit shaky. If you get it right, then the campaigns that follow are working a bit better, right? Um, so we got a question in the chat. What about basic stuff when the business is the member, not the individual? I love this question. I have an example of this in a couple of slides. But yes, the question would be, are you still the primary contact? Because again, this is going to be a little bit repetitive, but for trade associations, primary contacts are going to change. And again, if you're not showing relevant information to these businesses, then it's likely that they might be a member because they have to be or because they wanted to be, but they haven't really used it lately. So when the primary contact changes, the first thing they're thinking isn't like, oh, we got to let Association ABC know. So doing a check-in with them, right, is making sure, are you still the primary contact for this person? That is going to then help with identifying yes or no. And again, I'm going to show you an example in just a little bit. Um, so it's okay. So the question also says it's hard to know that PropFuel is going to pick up the right fields from my AMS for them to confirm when there are so many fields to choose from. Valid point. The solution here is that we feed into it's an API integration, right? So you select the fields that you want that information to be written back to. So that hopefully solves that problem. I hope that helps. Okay, these next couple of examples are a lot, but I still hope that they get the point across. But this is what that's going to look like in the wild, right? Capturing the basic information. So this is a real member update campaign. It is a simple email that says, in effect, so we're focused on here, right? So this is the email that says, hey, in order to serve you effectively, we want to make sure that we have the right information. Here's what we're looking to make sure that is correct, right? Do you have time to update this information? When they click yes, which you see 78% of the people said yes, which is insane because that might not, the numbers are over on this side where it really breaks down. Like they got 24,000 people to respond to this and update their profile information, which is huge. That's insane. It's a 77% engagement rate. So again, 78% of the people said, yes, I have time to update this. The next screen they see is the one that says, like, okay, can you put in your preferred email address? What's your relationship? What's your age range? When they hit submit, that's automatically, this is a bit small, and I apologize for that, but once that text response is filled, it automatically gets written back to the AMS. The staff doesn't have to do anything. The member doesn't have to log in, all of that. It's just done. And that's really the part that makes it easy and effortless. So no logging in, no staff member doing anything. The member answers the single question, your database gets more accurate, and that is Ask Capture Act in a single screen. I also, we try to keep messages like short, sweet, and to the point. I do really like though that this organization specifically tells them the why. Like, hey, if you take these 60 seconds to update your profile, like you're going to get the right benefits, you're going to get the right communications, you're going to get XYZ, and we're going to make this valuable for you. Another example, mailing address. Okay, so you have the right email, you have the right age range, whatever it may be. But for those of you who are still mailing things, think journals, think invoices, think any type of like updates. You want to make sure you are mailing to the right people. Otherwise, you're just wasting money, right? You're sending these hard printed pieces that, again, each costs money to potentially the wrong human, the wrong address. So again, simple question of, is this information correct? And again, in this instance, all of these fields are being pulled from the field in the AMS. These all tie back to your AMS directly. So in this example, I actually want to point out 66% of the people said no, they don't need to change anything at all. And at first, some people might be like, oh, that was a bit of a flop, but actually it's not. It's quite the opposite. So every one of those no's is a confirmed current address. So a record that you know is right without even touching it. So if they say, do you need to change this information? If somebody says no, then that's it. They just get sent a message like, thanks for keeping your contact up to date. If you have any questions, reach out. But the 34%, so that group that said, yes, I do need to change this information. Again, it's going to be a very similar thing. It's going to write back to the contact record automatically so that a single email does two jobs at once, right? It's verifying good records and it's fixing the bad ones. And in this instance, it's not just collecting data. You're actually proving that what you have is trustworthy, which is good. We want to check on this, right? Again, make it easy. Um, this is a bit of a newer one that I feel like a lot of associations are leaning into, which is text messaging. If you have text messaging, or if you are thinking about it, go ahead and drop in the chat that you, yes, or just say, sure, thinking about it. If you do not, just put no. Okay, people are thinking about it. For those people who aren't using it, I'd be curious to know why. Like, is it just the legalities of it and working through that? Is it you don't have the right tools to like collect the info? What is holding people back from taking that next step? Just the uncertainty of it, legalities. Just I work for a legal association. Okay, everyone ask Christy how to do this. Um, yes, having all of the procedures down is very important. So make sure that you do that. But again, this is something it's keeping up with the times. People always have, I always have my phone by me. I always have my watch by me, which also gets text, which is another problem. But it's one way to reach your members where they are. And that's what we say too, like meet your members where they are. If they want text from you, they have to expressly opt into that. Therefore, if they want them from you, they will tell you yes, and then you will be contacting people that are interested in hearing from you via text. So it's just one other way to reach people. But again, um, some members would much rather just get a quick text first, especially for time sensitive stuff. But you do need this like very clean, explicit opt-in. So it's the same move again. You've got one question right in the email. This in this example, it's saying like, hey, we can now send you text reminders. Would you like to opt in? Yes or no? It's actually really like this one, for example, was a 50-50 split, which is interesting. But again, you've still got 50% of your members essentially that are interested in, that's what, 2,400 people that are essentially interested in being contacted via text message. So that's a huge pool of members that you now have permission to reach on the channel that they actually check and the channel that they prefer to be communicated with. So when they say yes, we then ask for the mobile number on the next screen. You click submit. Again, writes directly back to the AMS. This is essentially what it looks like on the back end, right? This is what makes this usable at scale. So none of this is hand sorted. The answer is routing itself. So if you say yes, it's going to send you to the mobile number question. It will opt you into the SMS and then it updates the contact field automatically. And then if you say no, it's just going to remove the member from the campaign. And then it notes the preference too, so that you're not continuing to contact this member when they already gave you the insight of like, this isn't of interest to me. You're not going to check in with them again. Ask Capture Act, guys. It's pretty cool. But yeah, I think the best part here is to show, for those of you not familiar with Profio, we've got a ton of workflows on the back end. And so you can redirect to another question, which is where you get the phone number. You can tag a contact in a specific way. You can write information back to different systems that you have. Um, yes, Sarah, it does. All right. Sorry, I'm just going through some questions too. All right. Cool. All right. So, Diane, I think you were the one that had asked about the trade association. Some of you, again, if you had attended the last couple of webinars, this one might feel a little familiar. So you might be wondering, like, why are we bringing this back when we did it for renewals? But really, like, it's a data collection move too for renewals. and it really does belong here at the foundation. This is specific to trade associations where, again, the membership belongs to a company, not a person, because, again, sometimes the primary contact changes. And when it does, like I said, it's really not common for associations to think like, oh, we should let our association know that all of these changes are happening. So prior to renewals specifically, you definitely want to send this type of email as a trade association, making sure that you have the right person. Because if you send this to the name on the account and that person left 8 months ago, it's going to drop into a dead inbox and you're not going to hear a thing from them and you're not going to know why. So come win back season, you are chasing down a ghost and you don't know what to do. So the idea here is, again, make sure you're collecting this data ahead of time and you're collecting it continuously. Um, we're going back to this whole idea of one question, are you still the right person for this? If yes, everything's good to go. If no, then you're going to fill out a form. So for the no's, that's where the cleanup happens, right? A no is going to route to a short form. You've got your name, title, email, phone, and one submit is going to fix that record at the source so that the staff doesn't have to chase all of these people down. You're not guessing why these people aren't renewing when in thinking like, oh, they must not have found value, when really it's like we just aren't contacting the right person. Um, so the no is a very, very valuable answer here. All right, so now you can reach people. You've got the right contact information. Layer two is what's going to make the message worth opening in the first place, right? So layer two is really going to be a mix of like columns 2 and 3 in the first, like the data collection, what data do we collect, screen we had looked at. And it's, can you gather data on who they are and what matters to them, right? So who are they professionally? We're thinking like role, title, specialty, where they are in their career, and then what are they working toward, right? So certification, the next step, whatever's top of mind for them. And the reason this layer matters is because without it, even a perfectly delivered email uh, that says the exact same thing to everybody, it's going to be lost in the shuffle. So this is really like the raw material for talking to a first year member differently than a 30-year veteran. And for pointing the person that's eyeing a credential toward that actual credential, and the person who's eyeing networking towards a networking group. So it's really taking that email blast that we're so used to sending and turning that into an email that's more of a conversation and something that's more relevant to each member. And again, we're not going to ask everything at once. We're going to do piece by piece. We're going to fold this into like regular communications so that we can gather information at like throughout the year. But also, like, if you ask too many questions from a member at one time, then how do you know what information to feed them after, right? If you're asking them, what's your role plus what's your goal plus what are you going to be focused on? What credential do you want? What you're doing is like you don't know how to follow up with them with a very simple task. So asking one at a time gives you the opportunity to say like, if this, then that, instead of if this, then that. And again, it's just like overwhelming the member. So, uh, okay. Layer two in action. So this is again professional data, not just contact information. So another client of ours, they sent members a single question: is your job title still correct? From here, this was sent to me, which I don't have a job title in your system. But this is a really good example too of like, for those who don't have the job title currently filled out, that's how it's going to show. But this is all, again, being pulled from a field that they selected in their AMS. So it gets pulled from the area that they want and it gets written back to the area that they want. Once they click, if they click yes, all is well. If they click no, then they get sent to this field here where it says, okay, can you provide us with your updated contact? Once they hit submit, they're done, good to go. But like this is a really good example of, sure, 65% said yes, so you didn't have to do anything with it, but that's just reconfirming that you have the right info, right? You can continue talking to them in the way that you have been. But there's another 3,700 people that updated their contact info. So that was outdated information that you can now use to provide more relevant information and experiences to those members. All right. Here is one that works a little bit differently. So this one actually stacks a few questions into a single click. So this is a bit of a mix of like who you are so that we can better understand you and better serve you. So we've got basically they were told up front why they were asking, right? This is similar to the first example that we saw. When you are collecting, I mean, when you send any type of email where you're asking the member to do something, I'm a huge believer in explaining the why. Because if you can tell someone why, they're more likely to give you the information that you're asking for, right? If somebody says like, "Hey, we want to make this more relevant for you. Can you do this?" I would say, "Oh, okay, like this is going to help me out in the long term." Sure. If somebody's just like, "Hey, can you do this?" I'd be like, "But why? Like, what is this going to do for me?" Right? And your members are going to be thinking a bit similarly. So they were told up front, hey, we want to better understand who you are so that we can ultimately serve you better. It will take under a minute to update all of this. And the reason they can say that is because they keep it simple, single clicks to update all of the information. And then you can see on the right, it's a real breakdown of the membership, right? So now we know who holds a BSN, an MSN, an RN, whatever it may be. We also know how long people have been practicing. So maybe we're going to speak to them a little bit differently, or we're going to ask them different questions. Maybe we're building out a mentor program and we want to focus on people who have been in the field for 20 plus years. 68% of their members have been in the field for 20 plus years. You can reach out to those people and say like, "Hey, would you be interested in being a mentor for a mentor program that we want to offer? Is this even relevant to you?" But that's you like this type of data is really helpful for the association to again better understand their membership and feed better information to their members. Uh, this one is an example that's going to go past contact information and really who a person is, and it's going to bleed into what the person wants. So single question, what is your preferred way to learn? I love this question. I think education is a big thing for associations. And if you can figure out how your members want to utilize that education, you can continue feeding them the right information. Again, if I'm sitting here and I'm like, the best way for me to learn is through case studies and webinars, and you start sending me all of these in-person event emails, I'm very quickly going to tune you out. So this group said, "Hey, how do you prefer to learn? Is it webinars? Is it online courses? Do you just want to read articles? Are you going to talk with your peers? Because from here, we can connect you to the right educational resources." So 2,400 people answered this. As you can see, the answers were not uniform. So it's a mix of people who really wanted online courses, webinars, books and articles, etc. Um, but the payoff here is on the right-hand side. So again, this is kind of hard to read, and I'm so sorry. I will send out the slide deck after this so you can delve into it. But the short story is depending on how someone answered, they're sent to a landing page that has relevant information to that specific answer. They are tagged as a contact, or their contact is tagged as like this person wants to read more articles so that you can follow up with them when new articles come out. And then it writes back to the AMS as well. And now these people for webinars, they're added to a completely separate campaign that's going to notify them about webinars that are coming out, which is so cool. I love it. Relevant information. We're just gonna skip past this one. So I want to be clear. We got time check here, 10 minutes. Okay. I want to be clear about why any of this is worth the effort. Because the real goal here at the end of the day is what the data lets you do. And that's typically three things, right? First, you can actually reach people. That is important. You're reaching the right person on the channel they choose so that your message lands instead of bouncing. Second, every email is going to start feeling a little bit more personal, right? So you're speaking to a first year nurse differently than a 30-year veteran. You are pointing the person who is chasing a credential toward that credential. Um, and the third piece of it is that this is really like the payoff that matters most. At the end of the day, the goal here is to help increase renewals and increase the people and just increase membership overall, right? Renewal stops being a surprise when someone feels that they've been seen all year, that they've been getting relevant information all year. The invoice is the natural next step. It's not a surprise, it's more of like a formality. And that's really what this comes down to. Data is important so that you understand your members. And why is it important to understand your members? It's important to understand your members so that you can keep them long term, right? That's how this all connects. I said I would touch on this very lightly. Basically, room two is prospects. So it is a very similar move. You can collect data on prospects before they even join. So one way that we do that is like website engagement, right? So if somebody visits your website, like start gathering information from them, whether it be a member or a non-member. But if you can get information from your prospects on like, what are you looking to get from the website? Why did you visit today? What brought you to our website? Get that information and try to connect that to an anonymous visitor so you can make that a person and make that somebody that you can invite into your association based off of, again, the data that they gave you and the information that they're looking for. So you can collect the same kind of data like at the front door, so something like your website, instead of just letting anonymous visitors pass. All right. So I'm going to leave you with this. It is one move, right? So we're asking a question, we're capturing the answer, we're writing it back to where it lives. And when you do that with your members, then you're filling in accurate data. The data is living, it's breathing, it's helping you help your members. If you do it with your visitors, then you're turning these anonymous visitors into real people. So if you're using website engagement or you're finding ways to connect with prospects to get more insight and data from them so that you can feed them information, um, that's going to compound. So every conversation that you have should be making the next one a little bit smarter. So we've got 3 takeaways for this week. Pick one, pick all of them if you can. So these are 3 things that you can do this week on your own. One, find out what you can confirm. Actually, like even taking a step back from this, I'm going to leave this up here, but I'm going to say the real question is, or the real task is, for those of you who are not doing profile updates or any type of data updates for your members, I think your first step is figuring out why, and then figuring out what you can do next to update the information. Right. And again, ideally, it's something like what we talked about, keeping it simple, showing them what you have, and then asking them to confirm, and then making it easier for them to update. Easier than just like logging in, navigating the profile, this, that, and the other. So that for those of you who said that they're not currently doing profile updates, that's going to be the first step. For those of you currently doing it, I would say figure out where the drop off is for your profile update campaigns. How are you approaching these profile update campaigns? Are you only doing them once every 5 years? Are you doing them once a year, but you're doing them at maybe like at renewal season when really what you should be doing it is 3 months prior to renewals? So figure out what your current process is and see where you can fix it. All right. High level, we've only got 6 minutes, so I'm going to make this fast. We did talk about membership AI earlier. So this is something that can support with data collection as well. So again, the first piece of this is segments. So if you are looking for somebody, like everyone who's missing a phone number or everyone who's missing a title, use segments, find that group so that you can send them a note, right? Show me the non-members on my site who showed real intent. You don't have to build those lists by hand anymore. Again, we're trying to save you time. Then the second piece of this is really the signals, right? So if segments is helping you find who matches a condition, signals is going to watch for the meaningful change that you didn't necessarily have time to spot yourself. So if a group is going quiet, people who haven't logged in X amount of days, like if you can track that, that would be awesome. but really being able to identify the signals that members are giving you so that you know what data you can collect. Um, so I'm going to make the case for just a second. I've kept this light a little bit on purpose, but everything I showed you today can live in one platform. The questions, the profiles, the website capture, the AI, etc. And that is PropFuel. If you are interested in learning more about that, or again, if you are a current client and you have questions, you want to be connected with your CS team, let us know. We'd be happy to walk you through more examples. We'd be happy to talk with you a little bit more about the membership AI side of things. So for those of you who are not current clients, if you are interested in walking through this, Alejandra just put a link in the chat. We are giving away a little gift. So if you have not gone through a PropFuel demo before, if you book and attend from the webinar, we are going to give you a $200 credit for an Airbnb. So go ahead and chat with the team. It's definitely worth a look. And again, if you are a current client and you want to talk with your team about membership AI, just send me a note. Alejandra also up in the chat had put a link to the workshop. That would also be a really good resource for you. With the 3 minutes to spare, what questions do we have? Sorry, Sarah. All right. Molly, you are looking for a webinar series for people who are current clients. I believe our CS team still does monthly roundtables. I'll check in with them. But um, I'll touch base with them. But yeah, at least we used to do monthly roundtables where clients would speak to how they were using the system and things like that. So I'll check for you, Molly. Any other questions? Thanks, Molly. Any questions from the group? Any comments, concerns, fun facts? No data questions. Someone throw me a bone. All right, hearing none. I will stay on for the next 2-ish minutes if anyone wants to chat. Otherwise, thank you all so much for joining. In the follow-up email, we will go ahead and send you the information for the next webinar, which is going to be focused on engaging members for like certifications, learning, etc. So feel free to keep an eye out for that. We'll send the recording, the slide deck, and again, information on part 2 of this series in that follow-up. All right. Lisa asks, what are the average numbers of members your clients have? It ranges. I mean, obviously, like trade associations can be a couple hundred to a couple thousand. Professional associations, again, like in the low thousands to tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. It varies. We've got clients all across the board. So I'm sorry, I don't know if that helps, but we've seen it all. Um, Molly, what a little plug there. We paid for 2 years of PropFuel with our first win back campaign, which is awesome. I love that. Molly, I'm going to put you on one of these webinars so you can speak to that. Nassie, you're building a case to convince my new leadership. Need your help. I'll follow up with you after this. We will go ahead and chat. Oh, yeah, Lisa, we'd be good. I can connect you with, let me go through the database and just figure out what clients we have that are in a similar membership count, but this would be totally fine. The whole idea here is that we've got like the automation in the back end so you can reach more members in a relevant way without having to do it manually. Lisa, what group are you with? If you're still on. Is that family physicians? Nice. Okay. Um, okay, Molly, I'll get Olivia. Lisa, I'll follow up with you after this. Yep, Academy of Family Physicians. Awesome. Have you seen PropFuel yet? It's always so funny for me to be like having a conversation with someone where I'm the only one that can speak. I love it. I want to talk to you face to face. I also never know if somebody's still here if they're typing. Haha, no demo yet. Okay. Lisa, I'll follow up with you. We'll touch base a little bit about numbers. And then we'll get you connected to the team too, because it's probably worth just seeing it in person. Make sure it makes sense. All right, folks. Feel free to reach out. I'm going to put my email, if there's only a handful of you guys in here still, I'm going to put my email in here. If you have any additional questions, please do not hesitate to reach out. I love talking about these things. Yeah, hope you all have a wonderful day and a wonderful weekend. Thanks for joining me on this Friday. Happy weekend. Bye, everyone.